Hello and welcome everyone. Hawkeye Season 1 was packed with new characters being introduced to the MCU. It gave us our first Hawkeye solo adventure. So let's break down all you need to know about what happened in Hawkeye Season 1. But before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe. And with that out of the way, let's get started with the video.
You're Hawkeye!
Who the hell are you?
The season opens in New York in 2012, just after the Avengers have assembled to fight Loki. We see a young girl, who later turns out to be one of our central characters, Kate Bishop. She is witnessing her parents fight, which seems to be commonplace in her life. But this time, it was a bit different. Soon their domestic troubles are interrupted by an alien invasion. And we get another third-person perspective on the destruction that followed Loki's invasion of New York in the first Avengers movie. For better or worse, it turns out Kate is a rich kid, and her parents' penthouse apartment was right across the Avengers Tower. The penthouse takes a considerable amount of damage, with the ceiling caving in and a large section of the wall being obliterated. Well, that's what happens when your house turns out to be at the center of a planetary war. But through this gaping hole, young Kate looks out and sees a hero with a bow and arrow. Hawkeye himself, taking down the alien horde. And suddenly Kate is filled with hope and a desire to learn archery. We now jump forward to the present time in the MCU, which is the year 2023. Kate Bishop is now played by Hailee Steinfeld and is on the cusp of graduating college. She is out with her friends, pulling a prank with her trusty bow and arrow. She wonders if it is the bell itself or the dangly thingy that makes it chime. The tower is a considerable distance away. She shoots an arrow and it hits the bell. Nothing happens. Then she decides to go for the dangly thingy. It rings the bell. But soon their celebration turns to despair as the bell comes crashing down, along with the rest of the tower. Meanwhile, in New York City, Clint Barton is in a Broadway show, Rogers, the musical. It's funny, for sure, but Barton is having violent flashbacks at the sight of Black Widow. He hasn't processed everything that has happened and is still shaken by the events of Avengers Endgame. And as he walks down the street to clear his head, he sees Thanos was right graffiti and a dude asking for a selfie at the urinal. Things you expect for saving the world thrice. Now that Kate is also back in New York visiting her mother, she is surprised to find out that her mother is engaged, and her fiancé Jack has an odd fixation with swords. Kate senses something off about Jack, something askew, but at this point, Kate can't quite put her finger on it. Meanwhile, somewhere else in town, Clint is trying to have the best Christmas ever, albeit on a budget. He is with his kids eating Chinese food and taking ideas from them about what would make this year's the best Christmas ever. As they are getting up to leave, the waiter comes by and informs the dinner is on the house. Again, it double underlines the importance of the Battle of New York within the MCU, especially considering how many nearly universe-ending cataclysms have befallen mankind in the years since. At the same time, Kate is at a high-profile party. She is attending with her mother and Jack. Since she has an uneasy feeling about how things are with her mother and her Jack's uncle, she decides to do some Batman-like investigation herself. And to her credit, she soon discovers a black market auction taking place in one of the secret rooms of the luxurious manor. The auction starts selling off stuff recovered from the Avengers compound, including Ronin's suit and sword. But the rich people auction is soon interrupted by another group from the organized crime that wanted to get their hand over the Ronin gear. Amid the chaos that follows, Kate finds herself putting on the Ronin suit and ends up fighting the thugs. Here we find out how good she is in hand-to-hand combat. She has no trouble taking on multiple thugs at once, and is so good that some are convinced that she is Ronin himself. As the fight takes to the streets and gets media attention, headlines start flying out about the return of ever-feared vigilante Ronin. This catches Hawkeye's attention. Meanwhile, having herself rescued from the tracksuit thugs, Kate visits Jack's uncle Armand, who was earlier in the evening threatening her mother, but unfortunately, she finds Armand murdered. The scene is pretty bloody, especially for the mostly bloodless MCU. Shook by the events of the last few hours, Kate Bishop doesn't seem to catch a break as the thugs soon track her down, and she finds herself ambushed. But luckily, this time Clint Barton shows up, and to his relief finds out that the person pretending to be Ronin was a young kid, who didn't know what she was doing. However, Clint recognizes the danger Kate was in, as Ronin had powerful enemies all over the world. We see Clint learn about Kate, and Bishop is happy to meet her hero, who inspired her years ago to down the path she was on. Kate returns a Ronin suit to Clint, who is having trouble believing that she's out fighting as a vigilante at age 22. But Kate is focused on how cool it is to have Hawkeye in her apartment, when she asks him to sign her bow. Clint reminds her they need to make sure that no one saw her face or followed her home, as Ronin's enemies are on the constant lookout. And as it turns down, in New York, Tracksuit Mafia is the one obsessed with Ronin. It was this group that Kate was fighting the entire evening. And it was not over. Tracksuit Mafia shows up at Kate's apartment, and Hawkeye and Bishop are left with no option but to flee for a safer safe house. In the morning, Clint puts his kids in a car to the airport and tells them he will see them for Christmas. But his daughter is worried about her father and wants to know why Clint can't come with them. He promises her he will be home for Christmas, but it's clear she thinks he won't. Watching the news the next day, Kate sees herself in the Ronin suit leaving Armand's house and realizes people think Ronin killed him. At dinner with Jack and her mother, Kate doesn't mince words and is upfront about not trusting Jack, questioning him about his sword collection. Kate suggests they fence. Jack and Kate face off in full fencing gear. But Kate is sure Jack is letting her win and demands to know what was he hiding. With Jack out of the room, Kate asks her mother if he could have been involved in Armand's murder since he was killed with a sword. Her mother again denies Jack is at all shady and tells Kate she is not a superhero, and she should soon apologize to Jack. Meanwhile, Clint sets up a meeting with Tracksuit Mafia boss Maya Lopez, who was actually the first Ronin in Marvel Comics and now goes by the name of the Echo. In the comics, Maya can perfectly copy other people's movements, somewhat like the Taskmaster, which makes her quite a skilled fighter. We get our first hint of this in MCU, in a flashback to a martial arts class when she watched one of her classmates perform a move and then used that move against him. We also find out that Maya Lopez is hunting down Ronin because he was the one who killed her father. Here Clint tries his best to convince her that Kate is not Ronin, and she should stop chasing ghosts of the past as real Ronin was dead. But unconvinced by Clint and Kate's arguments, Maya Lopez decides to keep them hostage, which leads to a delightfully chaotic and trick-arrow-filled car chase sequence. Even though the constraints of live-action television prevent the show from reaching the same heights as the comic book version of this car chase sequence, it still manages to produce something pretty clever fun, and definitely surprising. The car sequence also highlights how good of a team Kate and Clint are becoming. Even though Clint can't hear a word Kate is saying, as Clint had damaged his hearing aid in a fight with Maya Lopez earlier as they were trying to get out. Anyways, Kate and Clint are still on the same page throughout the car chase. Before they fix Clint's hearing aid, Kate is forced to help her near-deaf idol through a heartbreaking phone call with his youngest son Nathaniel. Jeremy Renner does a great job of conveying how much it pains Clint to hear his son tell him that it's okay if he won't make it home for Christmas, and Haley Steinfeld perfectly relays Kate's sympathy for her role model. From there, Kate and Clint decide to break into Kate's mother's apartment so that they can research Maya's right-hand man and also Jack in the security firm's database. Unfortunately, Kate gets locked out of the system, and Clint finds himself on the other end of Ronin's blade, wielded by Jack. So far, Hawkeye has played coy about Jack's agenda. Sure, he seems fishy. And if you're looking for a murderer who likes to use swords, Jack has to be a prime suspect, especially when the victim is his uncle. What's more, as Clint learns later in this episode, Jack's the CEO of a company that is laundering money for Kingpin. Later that day, as Kate and Clint were discussing Ronin, she finds out that Hawkeye was indeed Ronin. Clint tells her how he was exploited as a weapon in the dark place that he was in after the events of Avengers Infinity War. After some reflection, the duo decides to get back in action. They go after the missing watch that was recovered from the Avengers compound after Endgame. Hawkeye tells Kate that this watch is important to him, and they need to recover it to safeguard his loved ones. Kate and Clint late find out that the watch was with Maya Lopez, who was not only looking for them, but was also pissed off by the fact that Kate had broken into her apartment. As the fight ensues, we find out there is someone else involved too, and that turns out to be Yelena, a Black Widow assassin and sister of Natasha. Last time we saw her was in the Black Widow movie. Yelena is on a mission to kill Hawkeye. Luckily, the two somehow manage to escape. Hawkeye asks Kate to leave as it was getting too dangerous, and now that a Black Widow assassin is involved, it is better if she lets Clint deal with his problems himself. Kate returns to her apartment, and to her surprise, Yelena is there waiting for her with some boxed macaroni and some nifty jokes. The big revelation of the scene, though, is how it answers one question about the Black Widow end credit scene. Why did Valentina task Yelena with killing Clint in the first place? At first, we assumed Valentina wanted Clint dead for her purposes, but during this Hawkeye conversation, Yelena reveals that someone else hired her to do it. Meanwhile, Hawkeye dons on the Ronin suit to meet Maya, who was obsessed with getting her revenge. But during the meeting, Hawkeye reveals to Maya it was actually her boss who wanted her father dead. Elsewhere, Yelena follows Kate through the city. At first, we think she is doing it because she wants to leverage Kate into helping her find Clint, but that is not at all. It turns out she decided to take Kate's advice and figure out who exactly hired her to kill Hawkeye. Yelena sends Kate a photo of her mother, who it turns out was the person who hired her to kill Clint. And the news hits Kate like a brick, especially considering Kate thought her mother doesn't even jaywalk, let alone hire an assassin to kill her hero. But as it turns out, Kate's mother has been working with Kingpin to settle the debts to her husband. And she admits to murdering Armand at Kingpin's request, but now she wants to end their business arrangement because of Kate's growing involvement. After watching a recording of her mother and Kingpin's conversation, Kate has a hard time reconciling with the reality of the matter. But Clint reassures Kate that their partnership is real, and they will work together to help Kate navigate the choppy waters. From there, the duo gets to work crafting some dangerously fun trick arrows in preparation for the coming battle. As they work, Kate opens up about why she admires him. "You showed me being a hero isn't just people who can fly," she says. "It's for anyone brave enough to do what's right no matter the cost." With their connection fortified and the trick arrows built, the duo suits up and heads to Bishop Security's Christmas party, as does Yelena, who is still intent on killing Clint for the death of her sister Natasha Romanoff. From here on out, it's all about action, as the tracksuit mafia, Yelena, and Kingpin try to hunt down Hawkeye and Kate. Yelena tracks and attacks Clint, but the two eventually call a truce after Clint reveals how much Natasha trusted him. And Yelena comes to the terms that her revenge was nothing but trying to come to terms with her sister's death. And she learns Clint missed and blamed himself just as much for not being able to save Natasha as Yelena did.
Mind your own business!
Meanwhile, Kate comes face to face with the Kingpin. Alas, Kate's agility and martial arts skills are not a match for Kingpin's sheer strength. Thankfully, Kate uses the flick trick Clint taught her to activate the too dangerous trick arrow, which sets off explosive fireworks to knock him out. From there, Kate reunites with her mother, who maintains that she did what she had to do to protect Kate, and that Kate wouldn't survive without her. Also, a battered Kingpin has a similar interaction with Maya, who tries to convince her that he had nothing to do with her father's death. He tries to play the uncle card to save his life right before Maya shoots him. Well, here let's not forget the fact that we don't see his corpse, and we have seen similar exchanges in the comics, which suggests that Kingpin survives being shot at point blank. I liked how the show placed these two scenes close together because it makes it clear how similar Yelena and Fisk are. They both use the idea of family to manipulate those closest to them and explain away their bad deeds. Thankfully, both Kate and Maya stop falling for it in the end, when it's all said and done. It is yet another Christmas miracle, as Clint makes it home in time to celebrate the holiday with his family, and he brings Kate with him. And we find out that the watch that they were tracking has a shield engraving on the back and belonged to Clint's wife Laura. As to why that watch is special and what it does isn't revealed. As the season ends, Clint and Kate banter about Kate's codename, but don't worry, the finale leaves very little doubt about what it will be. While Hawkeye may not have been as ambitious as some of Marvel's other 2021 shows, it is the most consistent. Furthermore, it offered a great introduction to Kate Bishop and made us care a little more about Clint Barton. Now we can't wait to see what next adventure this duo will be on next. Let us know in the comments. What are your expectations from Hawkeye Season 2 and the characters going forward in the MCU? And with that, we will bring this video to an end. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.